These nuts!
Good day, this is Regina's Rabbit Hole, and we're talking about shadows today. Shadows. Shadows are very important to me. Good day, love. Shadows are very important to me. I do shadow work, and study psychology and anthropology and sociology as a hobby. I enjoy those things because it brings me peace of mind to understand how things work, human nature and how things fit together. On my personal journey, the reasons why I needed to know certain things. Good day, love. I will, Lacey. Thank you. Thank you, sis. So today we're talking about shadows, that elusive stuff, that how I saw as a child, that people who were placed in a position who was supposed to enlighten us, there were supposed to be authorities to us, how they pretty much were lost too. I'm working with this new camera thing. I'm hoping it works. Okay. Sharing my screen. I think we're okay. Yeah, so the technology part is a little bit elusive to me, so that's my shadow part. Trying to work these cameras. Okay, so I don't think I'm doing a very good job of this part right here. Okay, so I got lost there a little bit. Good day, Clinton. Hey, family. Much love to you. Okay, so we're talking about shadows, and I'm playing with this camera stuff. I wanted to be able to share my screen, and I'm hoping I can still do that. But I'll fart with it when I'm ready to do that. Okay, so that's just my journey, is wondering how things work, because our behavior can be elusive. Why we do things can be elusive. And I saw the government saying one thing but doing another. I saw authority figures and parental figures saying one thing and doing another. I saw our institutions that I was educated in saying one thing yet doing another. You know what I'm saying? They said be all you could be, but then it would shut you down if you exerted yourself. So what was that all about? So there is a lot of this hidden stuff, and we use so many freaking words to explain ourselves. Oh no, that's not what I mean. I don't mean that. But that's what you did. And that's what you're portraying, what's oozing out of us. Like, that's the part that I was seeing, what was oozing out of us. And I'm wondering, like, where does it come from? That stuff that oozes out of us, that's so elusive that we don't even know is there, we can't see. And so that led to a whole nother journey where I ended up with you, this family that likes to pursue the shadows, whether it's occult systems or spirituality, spiritual sciences, metaphysics, stuff like that, to better ourselves, to understand ourselves and the world around us, and a bit more of an expansive level. So these words are what I learned are a light code frequency. And this light code frequency is projected by way of our intention. It's our intention and that stuff that's inside of us, whether that's indoctrinated inside of us, into us. I'm not going to go into why the indoctrination is there. You know what I'm saying? It's like these nuts. It just is, okay? And we can take something that's really crazy and appears non-beneficial and make it into something that can work for us. And that's the intention, okay? So while sucking these nuts is good, walnuts are very good for your depression, okay? And with all the radio frequency waves they be shooting around, whether it's cell towers or gang stalking or satellite brain reading technology, we're trying to stabilize here and obtain some balance. So these nuts is good sometimes. Figure out how to work with them, how to work with what we got. Okay. So many of us are doing just what I'm doing, floating through material, floating through all these words and concepts, right, to explain stuff. But the bottom line is what I found is that no matter what system, what modality we use to understand something, wherever you go, there you are. We bring ourselves. We bring the essence of ourselves and who we are. And that can be elusive sometimes, okay? Many times, there's a shadow in that. Because, yes, we need definitions and able to, as a raw basis, to understand something, to conceptualize something, to portray a message. Like I'm using these words to explain what I'm feeling inside, what my journey is from me to you. These words are comprised of the energy inside of myself. And if you've been here for a while, you've gotten to know my personality a little bit from here, what I'm saying. And so you know this is some real stuff. However, outside of us, we know that people take images and bend them and warp them, okay? And that's the dark side. Not because it's bad, because you can warp images. Like money isn't bad. What do you do with it? Having the ability to mold and distort and warp an image, those words, that's what I was finding out, the etymology, the concept, the meaning of these words, right? Where they come from. So we went from who we are with the psychology and where we came from, some basis with the anthropology, right? And how we work with the sociology was what I was studying. That led me to occult systems and how we work on a deeper level. We're like computers and we get indoctrinated to certain ideas. And so if you're outside of those of us who are able to think past just image, right? We're looking for essence. We're looking for purposely looking for the essence of what's inside, okay? Not just the exterior. And I thank my family for that. That's family. People who can roll with that. Now you can't do no stupid stuff, okay? But we're more practical with that and able to extract essence, okay? Imagine if you were only looking for that perfect looking fruit. We would never get to the other ones that were beneficial for us if we were, you know, some of the roots and herbs don't look very attractive, but they're extremely beneficial. So we can't go by looks. So I was looking in the shadow and to the intention. Okay, so we know these words are like code frequencies, and we could be glamored by them, by the grammar. And the grimoire would be like a sorcerer or a wizard, a person being able to have the mentality to conceptualize the magnitude of what I'm saying to you and orchestrate ideas that are comprised of words, which are like code frequencies. To a populace that's in the shadows because they're unawares of how these things can actually be used. Outside of music and how music can penetrate your carbon-based crystal, right? Crystals hold in information like we respond to words, we respond to sound, we respond to frequency. Heck, we are sound and frequency. We are light code frequency inside this body and inside this vehicle, this car, this ba, right? Make it plain is your intention. And so we're so far away, what I found in my studies, from knowing who we are and plugging into ourselves, that we couldn't possibly shine a light on anyone else's intention or comprehend anyone else's perspective, the majority of the people around us, because they're just not indoctrinated that way. They're not plugged in that way. They weren't taught that way, and they didn't reach for that direction, you know. And this was by design. And that hurt. Oh boy, it hurt. It hurt. And it gets past the hurt into stupid and realizing how stupid and ignorant these people are, and that they actually, like addicts, they made themselves sick. They made us sick and they made themselves sick with the glamour and grammar of it all. This grimoire, this beast, right? The beast as in that part of ourselves that is on a lower frequency, that part of ourselves that will kill ourselves, that side of ourselves that turns inside out and is just so ignorant. Our shadow self, the part that desire can go in one way or the other, right? We can go in desire toward drugs and addictions, and knowing that that could be also Facebook and getting a like, right? Or attention from a spouse or the opposite sex. So addictions go in one way or the other. It could also be addicted to finding things that are meaningful, that are wholesome, to be able to put things back in that were taken out. Addicted to finding the media sign, the medicine, the stuff that makes you go, you know. Some of us are addicted to healing things, to making things whole, to wanting them beautiful, to restoration, and looking for spaces to be able to do that. Okay? And for those people on the other scale who are looking to destroy stuff, because that's their indoctrination and where they are, right? With their intention, with their light code frequency. And then other people who are looking to maintain the balance. They just are, you know. Some people just are naturally gravitate toward wanting to help stuff. And it's really funny how the weight of it, the shadow of that is those people are usually looked at like they're the ones that are something wrong with them. They're rarely seen for who they are. I'm trying to get to a place about perception. Not always seeing what's there, whether it's what we were indoctrinated into or whether it's what we choose. It is what it is, right? And so on this playing field, we have all types. So we have to learn to work with that. You can get with this and you can get with that, and some of us do this and some of us do that, but what do you do with all that material, right? How do we make it work for us and flow in the right direction? We're moving as a community right now, trying to find the words to be able to project what we've internalized, right? We want to grow. We want to find that place where we can get with like minds, right? Like minds to do what? We have to be able to conceptualize on a more embedded and profound level, right? The A, B, and C, the 1, 2, and 3. Some of us may see a triangle, right? It's a simple triangle or some chick talking about a triangle. But some of us can see the points on the triangle and the interdimensional meaning of the depth would be, what is the intention of the person talking about this triangle? And then learning that the triangle has a point A, B, and C, right? And then you could go into the 60-degree points, like if you want to start doing the geometry, right? What is it? On carbon, you know, where you do the 6 times 3 points and you end up with 18, and then you do the you end up with the 36, and you do the math and you end up with the 9s and 6 protons, electrons, and neutrons and stuff like that, and you start going interdimensionally. You start removing the shadow because you can see more in depth of what is there. Now, we've been taught to just look at this and that's okay, while people around us are seeing regularly the in-depthness of this. And so while around them, it's like taking candy from a baby when it comes to being able to conceptualize things, being able to understand things, being able to make a mature connection with the world around us. We've been kept on a shallow dimension, okay? I was listening to Bobby Hemmett the other day, and he was talking about voting. We just came through voting season. He was saying how, we're talking about the shadow, the things that we don't know, and perception. He was saying how there's two, excuse me, I have notes everywhere. And I've been clogged up with this message, and I didn't want to give it because sometimes the embedding of it, the depth, it feels too beyond me. And so my self still wants to stay in the concept that I was put in. And I don't want to listen to our ancestors push me forth. So I get spanked until I until I'm able to vocalize what it is that they meant for me to say. But Bobby Hemmett was saying that there's two different, when you go to vote, we see one house like you're voting for one seat or the other, but the invisible part is that there's two seats. He said there was a, instead of looking for the note, I'm just going to remember what he said. There is a one lined up with the chakras, and one is the physical aspect. Like, okay, we're doing a physical ballot to represent a physical person. So we're doing a physical action to represent a physical person to represent us, like avatars, kind of like icons. This person is a rep. He's supposed to be the representative, you know what I'm saying, on the planet, speaking for us. And then we have little reps when you start looking at Congress and your senators and all that kind of stuff, right? All those people are supposed to represent us and speak for us, and they're like avatars. Even the concept is still the exact same thing that we're seeing with a computer. All this stuff is thoughts, it's concepts, light code frequencies, okay? Different sides of the mind, pillars. What our society stands on is its perception. It's our perception that build, it's our agreed perceptions, our agreed upon perceptions that create society. Hold up. Furthermore, on a side note, remember that Washington, D.C. is set out in an occult systems pattern, which you can check out, where the actual Baphomet can be mapped up and the outline of the city. There's also ancestral history when you look at Wall Street. Wall Street was actually a path that the slaves took when you look at Black Friday. And when you look at the dynamics of the Oval Office and the way that things are set up, it's so that energy can be funneled and channeled through the city. As I've said, the ley lines are used, and spiritual energy can be pulled into buildings and things, just like inanimate objects. Yeah, so that's a side note on this. When we think about consciousness and an avatar and channeling consciousness and pushing, okay? Being a chairperson, you know, like the president or the senator or the governor or your mayor or your teacher or any representative that has the ability to sway large numbers of people, okay? Opinion. So it's like taking candy from a baby, and the aspect of it's like a magic trick, like a mirror magic. While we were sleeping, people were portraying the image, indoctrinating us with the idea that we could trust them. And even when it comes to feeling that we could trust organizations that put us in situations where we trusted the opinions of those teaching us, okay? Teaching facilities and places where you're supposed to respect the opinions of people that are like elders or parentals, okay? Your doctors and your preachers and your teachers. Authority figures, gatekeepers, and things like that. So while we were sleeping, doe-eyed, It's the Nazi paperclip stuff. You're darned if you do, you're darned if you don't. If you're a good citizen and you follow along, thinking that you're not making any waves, right? When in actuality, by not asking questions, put yourself in a situation to be hurt. And so then if you do ask questions, you also put yourself in a position to be exposed as somebody that's a thinking individual and makes waves in the matrix and the regular protocol of things and the way that we've been doing things where no one asks questions to the authority. And so that's alerting people inside the system like sentinels or smiths. Alerting the gatekeepers. And so this is a side note and another dynamic to these avatars and, choosing representatives and stuff and the collective consciousness, and how that's used to the advantage of those who build our society and have a personal interest and gain and keeping people docile through fluoride, medications, lack of information, so that they don't feel a need to act. Okay, so that's where the sheeple for the steeple stuff comes in. And we need to wake up because, wouldn't it be great if we could just trust? But it doesn't work like that. It's time to take another look at the way this whole system is set up. And part of that is even looking at the embedding, okay? And the very way the city is set up to broadcast as a capital. The capital, okay, is set up with the occult systems, with black magic, to funnel the energy as a head, as an avatar, okay? Kind of like remembering how America was
These nuts!
at some point leading edge, you know what I'm saying? As far as leading thought, it's all energy and set by design in a certain way, deliberately, to keep interest, collaborating interests that have been behind the scenes in the shadows that way on purpose so that they can stay cloaked as long as we stay stupid. But that's not happening. So then what do you do? It's what I learned in sociology. It's what I understood when I saw anthropology. It's not necessarily that what you're agreeing upon is beneficial for everybody. But if the people that have an understanding or power, the understanding is power, knowledge is power. Knowing how things work is an upper hand in regards to this.
These nuts!
Our spiritual sciences have been snatched away from us like candy from a baby. And at this time, in our junction, at this phase in our junction, through time, we're waking up. And it was told to me through this message that I was getting in between the research that I was doing. Because what happens is I get a light code frequency message. And I'll be doing my research. And there's a correspondence. And then there's like this thing where it all kind of collides together and I'm full. And kind of splashing all over the place. And I will have to, my job is to gather all that stuff and focus it in and be able to streamline exactly what it is that I'm supposed to be saying, what applies to me, what applies to me for what I'm doing. And I do shadow work, that elusive stuff, that stuff they be trying to hide. What is it about us? The who, what, when, where, and how is my thing. I'm just built to be nosy like that. Okay? So we're in this matrix, and this matrix, you could call it or say that it has the attributes of the magic square, right? You could even do the math for those who do the math on that kind of stuff. Just, okay? Some of this stuff is not going to make sense to some of you because I have to just like float through it to get to where I want to go. Now, and this matrix, they've been doing a lot of stuff that we don't know about, and we're just catching up. And we're like babies. And so these wizards have been playing with our light code frequencies. Okay? There's this thing called human design. I've mentioned it before. And just like with our zodiac, that breaks us down into different parts, segments, sections. We're like a computer, like a machine. Each one, like we're doing the each one, teach one now. That's a mutually beneficial energy exchange. Well, it would be naive to believe that someone else is not doing the opposite of that. Okay? The technology. Each one, keep the other one in the dark. Shh, don't tell them kind of stuff, kind of ish going on. Okay? And we work like a machine and like a computer is what a lot of us didn't realize. Side note, as being desensitized, behaving more synthetic like and like a computer is not what I mean. I mean inside of our natural state, right? That part of us that is alive, that is the raw essence of our being, all right? Like say how Pisces are said to be caring, or an Aquarius inquisitive, okay? Or a Scorpio, more like a warrior, or an Aries, fiery, right? The essence is what human design, what I like about it, this little piece here, is we have manifestor, generator, reflector, projector, and manifesting generator. And these are also spiritual energy types. You might as well, personality types. We are light code frequencies being like, look at us in different aspects and dimensions, okay? You're not just looking at her. You're looking at her mother's influence and her grandmother's influence and the influence of all her female teachers. You know, if she had a sister, you're looking at the influence. If your mother was nasty to her and that made a ripple, we, thank goodness, are starting to look more embedded, right? Okay, so this is what we're going through right now with our, I don't know, whatever word you want to choose for it, revelation, ascension, elevation, just seeking knowledge, our spiritual elevation, because knowing about these sciences is spiritual, and what we choose to do with them is definitely a spiritual decision. For instance, while we were sleeping, satellite mind reading technology was built. Check that out. Look that up. Okay? There's people running away from the dirt that they've done. Okay? Our consciousness builds our society, builds our world, our agreed upon. Like when we shake hands, you know what I'm saying? We agree that, okay, that's going to be the rep. We agree. We co-sign. When we allow, when we take our hands off, what is that saying? A cruel world, something like that, is when good men do nothing. It's not just when the bad men bludgeon somebody over the head. It's also when good men do nothing. And that goes for women too, you know? And so we're all making adjustments, guilty as charged, in one direction or another, depending on the way that we look at it. It's the way that we look at it that's building our world and our society, okay? It's wanting that guy to be totally messed up and us to be totally okay that's keeping us messed up, because that doesn't allow for us to be able to make adjustments and fix things. If we have to be fixated, if we have to be in a fixed position, then there's no movement. And so we're learning, we have learned to be in a fixed position, mentally, spiritually, and physically. And there's your triangle. By the opposition, I'm going to call the opposition the shadow self, the counterproductive self, the self with no movement, the self that doesn't want to move, the self that eats itself, the snake that eats itself. Can also, once we figure out how things move and how things work, be used to our advantage, because it's all energy. Energy never dies, it only transfers, right? And so we're in a process of change and movement. And this is a glorious time, a time to drop stuff, to purge stuff, to let stuff be. We're learning. What bothered me when I looked at human design was to realize how vulnerable that I can be in certain areas of my life. If you have an open ajna, right, for instance, that means somebody who is fixed, who is full, who's defined, who's made like that. You're just made like that. What? This is the zodiac on the, this is my, I like embedding. It has the zodiac on it. Here we go. Even this camera right now with the left is right and the right is left, trying to fit. Okay. And I use it because, well, that should be obvious for this crowd. Okay. There's a lot of things that I benefits that I can get out of just using this as a fidget toy. When they say our unconscious mind, that you could put things for embedding and for learning, I learned for programming. You could put things around you and that it would embed in you. It would just naturally become a part of who you are. And so they say sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you. And that's a lie. That's a lie when it comes to this concept, right? And this is a science, but it's a spiritual science because it affects us directly. So these words and this music and this world that we're in, that is projecting what's coming out from inside of us. Although we helped build the shell, did not fill the husk, because we were sleeping. We were spiritual sleeping. We didn't deliberately fill the rooms You know what I'm saying? The empty spaces, people's minds. If you can push, if you're defined, then you can push your thoughts into somebody else's empty space. And that's not a bad thing if you're in a safe space and you know you're built like that and you're not trying to kill each other and you're building a society and you're taking care of each other. You know that that's how societies run. So you want to take care of those people who have the empty space, but you're also utilizing that what? So you can push in the medicine. This is Siren Buddha medicine. This is Regina's rabbit hole. So all that elusive stuff they be trying to kill us with, I like to put the medicine on. That's just my thing. I'm a pain in the butt like that. What? And I pay for it. And you get what you pay for. Yes. That depends on the way you look at it. Sometimes I'm not so happy and sometimes I am. Depends on the way you look at it. Okay? I've gotten a lot of benefits. So they be trying to run because they're twisted and they had a whole bunch of knowledge for a very long time. And they're hiding in the shadows. And you call them the grays. Okay? Not all the grays, but in general, I would tell people years ago that the aliens are us. Yes, like we are not toys. Like Toys R Us, we are not toys. We're no longer toys. Toys R Us went out of business. They love words. They're very important, these words, because these words build worlds. They actually do. They build beautiful things or treacherous, horrible, monstrous things. Lovely and savory, sweet, lovely, aroma-filled, blessed, gorgeous things. Or shiny-ish. That's treacherous and okay, so you get the picture, right? You know, there's different levels to this. That's what I'm saying. There's different dimensions to this. Literally. Literally. Embedding. They shut part of the brain down to stop the connections from our unconscious mind, the darkness, the unconscious, the sleeping part, the dreaming state, from being awakened, from being conceptualized, from coming into the light, from us being aware of what's been going on in the darkness, the technology. A trick. A trick is only a trick because you don't know how they did it. That's what makes it a trick, right? How did they do that? Or that you don't realize the value. What makes a trick? On the other tip, is to not realize the value, right? So we've been tricks. We don't realize the value of ourselves or the things around us. We don't realize the value of our own words and our own personal spiritual development. We don't realize the value of our own power. And so while we were sleeping, these people build a whole freaking machine, and it's called Shern. And that's why I was hoping that my camera would work right so that I could share. I want to be able to share my screen with you. I'm hoping the technology works right, and I'm not going to be elusive. Come on now, it doesn't want to work right. Okay. Still in the dark with this tech, but I'm learning. Enlighten me. Take the shadow away. Okay. Share my screen. Just want to share. Okay. Yeah. It's not sharing my screen. I can still see me. Oh, shoot. That's not what I want to do. Oh. Oh, wait. Okay. I think I am sharing my screen. I think I actually am. It's sloppy, but that's okay. It's okay. So, I hope I'm sharing it. If not, I will drop these in the video, these links when I produce it. I'm going to continue to talk. I hope the tech is working correctly and I am actually learning how to use it. Okay, so these grays, I said aliens are us, okay? That the grays are us, that we are actually the ones that are traveling through time, okay? There are people trying to escape their fate. Can you see this? The many believers, as the members of Christ, are spokes of the hub, spreading to the rim, to the body of Christ. Christ being a light code frequency, you know, and it goes into the other symbolism of Saturn, Horus, you know. Look up your symbolism, okay? Now, Bobby Hemmett was talking about Cyrus A and Cyrus B. We're in that time now. We're talking about revelations and ascension, right? And getting knowledge that you know that there's been some astrological changes and lineups and that we're not in Kansas anymore, okay? And things have changed. And so I don't know if any of you have met someone that is addictive, someone who has addictive ways, but there's certain things, certain behaviors that happen. You know, it's a cycle. When you're sick, you know, it's a cycle. You know, it's a disease. They call it a disease, addictions. And if getting a like on Facebook can be an addiction, and we see that people go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, doing all kinds of dumbness, right? Just saying any old thing and doing all kinds of crazy stuff to get attention, even if that attention is not positive, it's counterproductive, you know, while others will refrain themselves and do something else with their energy. So energy never dies, it only transforms, but it's what we do with it. Okay? So some of us are pushing ideas that are beneficial for everybody, and some of us are addicted to doing it just for ourselves, and we're ending up in other areas, other cycles, okay? Now, these people who have been living off of us while we were sleeping, right, are called the Greys, and they've been traveling through time. And right now we have this machine called CERN. And it has to deal with quantum D-wave mechanics. I mean, like, we were really sleeping. We were like out cold. You ever see somebody sleeping and they're just like drooling? We were out cold. We were knocked out. They've been running amok, tore the place up, even played with time. Okay. There's a lot of embedding, like Shakespeare utilizing the zodiac, you know, and how personality types and even the zodiac and Good day. This is Regina's Rabbit Hole, trying to finish this talk that I was trying to share with you about shadows, essence, perception. Shadows, things being elusive, the essence and perception. It's very important that I give you this message. In the same way that we are a light code frequency, comprised of certain attributes, right? Certain personality traits, privy to certain gifts, you know? He or she does this and that. Can be, heck, certain cultures actually plan for that. Good day, love. Certain cultures actually, we used to be the culture that actually planned. We planned our births to be able to bring in special children and special people to our society. So, in lieu of knowing that this was actually a spiritual science that is still practiced in some cultures with higher awarenesses as to how to steer energy. Energy never dies, it only transfers. Okay? We're spiritual energy. So in the same way that you can harness, collect, understand a person exhibiting, harnessing certain abilities and traits because of their astrological sign, because of their date of birth, because of where they were born, the time they were born, and the people that they were born into. There's a light code frequency that was designed exclusively for them. And there are, like I said, people who are aware of this while we were sleeping. And they actually still utilize that. So energy never dies and it only transfers. They do the exact same thing with buildings, ley lines, ancestral lines. For instance, building cathedrals on top of ancestral grounds that people, whether it's due to, the lineage being there, would naturally have have an attraction, spiritually to that place. How energy never dies and it only transfers. Things speak to your blood. How you don't even have to be around a child or an ancestor, but they're around you. They're in you. Like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Is the essence a chicken? It's a chicken. A chicken is a chicken. An egg is a seed of a chicken, but it's still a chicken, right? So they know how to take the essences and actually trap them into land grids. And they got this machine. I don't know if you heard me last time we got cut off. Now, we're talking about shadow, things being elusive. Things are elusive many times because we don't understand them. Ignorance is a shadow. And shadow can hide something that we want hidden, or hide something that we don't. You want to know it's there. But even if, that's the funny thing about a shadow is essence, right? You can hide in the shadow, but if you have a scent, you're still going to pick it up. It's like a Star Wars and the Force be with you. If we close our eyes and we stop focusing on a one-dimensional way of connecting with the matter, what's the matter with the matter around us? What's the matter with you? What are you feeling? What are we feeling? If we just close our eyes and stop it. Do you know that they're actually training people to close their eyes now and feel the force around them? May the force be with you, kind of stuff. Energy never dies. It only transforms. Check out Dan Winters and him talking about energy fields and, quantum. Check out Anthony Patch and him talking about quantum D-wave computers and mechanics. The grays, in between the lines, the gray area, the part that we don't see, the part that takes a minute to contemplate, to conceptualize. What is that? What is that? The gray. What is a gray? The grays are us. We are the grays. The grays are us. The grays are us running from their fate. The grays are us running from what people say that doesn't exist, karma. Karma does exist. This is Shern. Shern is a quantum D-waves mechanics computer. And what it's doing is leaking this stuff called strange links. And to detect the strange links, they invented a computer that they call Alice, which I thought was very funny. Okay? So Alice, Alice in Wonderland, and also inner space and outer space concept being played on, and the unconscious mind. It's like you have to have these parts present in order for the embedding to take place, and in order for them to travel back and forth through time, we have to actually be in their consciousness and them to be a part of ours. It's an embedding. And so these grays, right, as a part of this wheel. And so while I was looking at time travel being proof of time travel, I was looking at proof of time travel. And what I found was this, a wheel within a wheel. And this picture that we see. And I was thinking of the ancient aliens. Check out this website, theancientaliens.com. Alien technology, where they have the planes. And because I'm not sure what got cut off last time, what you actually heard. But there was these little mini planes. And when I was studying Egypt, they would intrigue me. And come to find out that was my confirmation that time travel actually exists. They used to make little figurines and little airplanes and stuff out of they made little earrings and stuff, little mini plane earrings and figurines and stuff. I'm like, well, where does this stuff come from? Okay. And knowing what we know now, all the pieces connect. If you add in this aspect to the research that we're doing, which is the time travel and the embedding that was put there so that people could recall to go back and forth. Said one of the problems with the ancient culture's technology, with us being computers, was forgetting. They had a problem with remembering, with being able to retain their information. That part is recorded very easily from the history of the planet research that Dan Winters did. And turning energy never dies, it only transforms, transfers. A light code frequency, which is what we are. these mini planes were actually blown up and turned into gigantical actual planes that we ride in. And so I saw this wheel, this Schern wheel, embedded in what we know about DNA. I saw this reoccurring shape and theme about the wheel, which goes into the turret and the body clock and DNA, and the cycle, the shape with things being embedded. And so I realized that many people thought it was a plane that Ezekiel saw, but I believe that it was the Schern machine and the embedding, you know, the army. You look at the pictures of the glyphs on the wall, you could see, you know, there was an incursion, an insurgent, something happened. It's something different. And this embedding and this shape repeats. I go through so much research, keeping things organized. It starts to smash together. Now this is the Jed. Okay, so you have something that's been copying the real creator, right? How we use time, space. The transition between someone coming from beyond and being born with a light code frequency through a vagina, living their life and expressing that light code frequency that they're entitled to, right? That is free will. Free will. So they contribute to their societies, their cultures, the people around them and stuff with that light code frequency that is brought into the world. Then they're exchanging air with the trees, with the very environment around them. And the environment is alive, right? Energy doesn't die, it only transfers. And there's evidence that plant life can be measured. Like that it's actually conscious of us being close to it. Okay? It's conscious, it's aware. It can feel fear. They say there's people doing research on plants, their rooting system. For instance, if you're chopping down a tree, here, you betcha trees 3 and 4 and 5 miles down there are going to know about it because their rooting system. The trees, if you look at us in a different way with our embedding, right? The way a cell looks with the little branches on top and a little string, it looks like a sperm. You kind of look at it with a few extra legs on it, or an eyeball. The shapes, okay? The shapes, the embedding, the shapes have meaning. That's what the light code frequency is, and how this language is alive. It's alive with essence. Everything is alive with essence, okay? It's a light code frequency. So even if it's in the shadow, the essence is still there. You ever smell something and you'd be like, what is that? It smells so good. You can't see it. But what is that? It smells good. I want more of that. Or, what is that? You don't want to see that. What is that? Oh. Okay, so it's the essence that we're after. And we're only expressing it through our intention, which is comprised of our essence, which is a light code frequency that has been warped by way of programming. And so we're in the deprogramming. We're in finding the good stuff and just giving it. You know what I'm saying? We're into the embedding because personally, you know, there's a lot of jerks, a lot of sleepy people, and if we can have one less person standing next to us that's going to be an idiot, really created still there, don't you think so? For those of us who are tired of standing next to the next butthole. I mean, we all have one, but do we have to display it every time? No, we don't. You know what I'm saying? Some things are best camouflaged, especially if you're trying to work with that. And you're aware, you know what I'm saying, that it's there for a reason. Not all the time. You know what I'm saying? A season, a reason. Buttholes are for going to the bathroom and, you know what I'm saying, getting rid of the stuff that we don't want. It's fabulous. However, other people want to do some other stuff that may not be so fabulous for the environment that you want to produce. So we need to watch our ish and how other people are looking about ish. Not everybody looks at ish the same. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, people wouldn't be doing different stuff with it. Yeah, and so that's just the way that we work. That's the wheel. That's our wheel as a sociology, as a society. It's our will. Our collective thought is what we decide on. And right now we're deciding that the grays are actually us. What they did was they built this machine they call CERN. Okay, this collider, this CERN collider. And they go back and forth in between time using the ignorance of us while we catch up to the sciences. Okay, and how this actually works. They're still feeding off of us and doing what they do. And so, yeah, I'm going to end it there. There's a lot of other aspects to it, and they're not alone and actually got caught in their own stuff. Like energy never dies, it only transfers, and there's a corresponding frequency. Like it's cleanup time, and our ancestors are from that place, from that shadow realm, from that place. It all starts with a thought. Before we understand what it is, it's a thought. And once it's conceptualized, there's a spark, and that's the energetic potential. Now, to triangulate on the energy potential has to do with what a person's essence is. We don't all do the same thing with the same stuff because of our essence. We have different intentions and also our indoctrinations and our abilities. What's in your repertoire? Okay. What do you have available for you that you've learned? This has been detrimental, equivalent to being retarded or children, okay, and not knowing it. But we have big egos walking around like we know something. The more I learn, the more I realize that I don't know anything because there's so many freaking different moving parts and that we do need each other. We are a moving vehicle. We work a particular way on purpose. Now, this has been capitalized on. Corpus America, you know, the United States of Corporation. We got a lot of dead stuff going on, a lot of things that are counterproductive that are not going to, they're not going to be mutually beneficial and help us to rebuild cultures and societies in a way that's going to be make sense, currency, lucrative, life-saving. There's stuff that we got to do. These people are weaving in and out of time, messing with the metabolic field of the actual planet. The core of the planet, they don't know what they're messing with. So, ego. They've been building all these dark machines. We're machines and we're computers on another level. So what they did was take a building and the essence of certain energies and make a giant machine like that person that's able to push thought using the airways, right? In the same way that our ancestors used the monsoon, used the storm, make it rain, that we are the essences of the planet. But it's organic, it's natural. That's who and what we actually are. While we were sleeping, certain people knew that and were jealous of that. And instead of following the rules and the protocol, integration, right? To actually work like it's counterproductive. And so they're weaving in and out of time, taking resources, building bunkers, doing everything they can to run away from the repercussions of their actions, all the horrible things that they've done, to keep this dysfunctional idea going on. It's not even really about white or black, but it is about genetics. It's about ideas. It's about keys. It's about how genetics unlock certain keys, how genetics keep certain fractions of people alive, how those people depend on other people being sleeping and sick and dysfunctional and ignorant, niggas, as an ignorant, in order to keep capitalizing and survive. How we don't want to fathom this freaking gigantico concept that's actually happening right in front of our face. So if you add the aspect of time travel, this is the zodiac, this is embedding, and people's abilities to maximize their intellect over ours, with how all this giant computer works, with the giving and receiving, and creating environments where it could be working differently. So we're starting to catch on, thank goodness. And we do have some choices, thank goodness. And we are at least seeing. I'm just thankful that I'm not going to die not knowing that there is really some freaking forces, some dark forces and things that were hidden. Not dark anymore. Like, now that I see it and I understand it, it's not so scary. I see how this works and why it's working that way, and they're not so scary, they're pathetic when you see about what's happening. And it's really sad when all you got to do sometimes is just let go of a certain way that you think. But if you can't do that, it's poison, to certain things. It's just sad when you know that it's genetics, and if they would just appreciate the foundation, the core. Okay, you can't run away from that. Just like strength links, you can build Alice, and you can build, or is it Castor? That reminds me of Casper. You can go all out and throw temper tantrums and do whatever you want, but at the end of the day, what is, and it's like time's up. So all this time we've been looking at aliens, and now there's the alien disclosure and all this stuff, right? I don't know if you heard of it before, but remember Area 51? So we've known it's not a conspiracy anymore. The government has had access to alien technology for quite a long time. And you have people with an ignorant idea and advanced sciences. That's an oxymoron for you. Oxymoron. So everything is embedded and encoded. And this is Regina's rabbit hole. There's a lot more to it, but this is just so gonna probably just leave it there for now. Yeah, so the grays are us. Whether it's the ignorance in the confines of our minds, those gray areas, those spaces that are not defined, or whether it's those people that are profiting off of that, capitalizing off of that, manipulating our reasoning because of that. And thank goodness that we're waking up and the light is shining and exposing the areas of those spaces, and we're able to grow. Conceptualize that. We are a light code frequency. But the more we know, the more we learn that we don't know. So what does that say to me in the confines of my mind? Is that there's always going to be something that I'm wondering about. There's always going to be a shadow. But if I learn to utilize at least what I do know about, perhaps we have a better chance. And that's why I have no problem with internalizing and utilizing
These nuts!
those who have walked before me and did certain research and put certain things together so that I can come to a contemplation about other things. And that's how energy flows and we move. A penny for your thoughts, the current situation with how ideas and talents and abilities turn into proceeds. What's before us? What came before us? What's coming next? What are we looking for? What are we making room for? Are we cutting off our nose despite our face? Despite our face. Not to spite our face. Despite our face. Spider face. Branching out, into new worlds and new civilizations and boldly going where no man has gone before. Using our light code frequency. Not going as man, but going as who we know we are inside of man. Having a deeper awareness as to our shadow selves and how we can get caught so much in our flesh and in the words and in essence. Yeah. The shadows can trick us. So watch out for the shiny stuff, the technology. This is Regina's Rabbit Hole. Thank you for listening and watching. Much love to you and yours. Glad I got this done. I'm out.